To the Snowy Valley Council meeting of the 19th of March 2020. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respects to elders past and present. This meeting is live streamed or will be streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council's debates and decisions without the need to attend these meetings in person. Members of the public attending or speaking at a meeting agree to have their image, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valley Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voice or images is permitted. In the event of emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions given by the warden. Councillors, do we have any apologies? I've received an apology from leave of absence from Councillor Pritchard and Councillor Isselman. Apology from the CEO. An apology from the CEO. No others? Someone move those? Councillor Larder, Councillor Cross, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. There's no public forum. Confirmation of the previous minutes. Councillor Ham, Councillor Larder. Anything arising from those? Councillor Ham.
I'm just bringing up about the tourism conference that we passed in here for Councillor Isselman and I to attend, but due to the COVID-19 we did not attend.
Councillor Cross.
And I also note that the Waste Conference in May has been cancelled as well, so I won't be attending that.
Thank you. Councillor Larder.
Just in relation to a matter that the Mayor and I had discussions about rising out of the previous minute with regard to the Twickenham Rugby League complex.
Yes.
Could the Acting General Manager, if possible, give us an understanding of whether that will impact the provision of water to the showground side, or whether that is a separate?
Through you, Mr. Chair. It's intended that supply to Twickenham would be a completely separate supply, so new pipeline, new manifolds, new connection point, so it won't interfere with any existing arrangements on the site. Also, the installation of that infrastructure would require the approval of the land managers and the parties that will be impacted.
Thank you, Councillor Larder. Nothing further from those minutes? All in favour? Carried unanimously. Brings us to the notice of motion. Councillor Ham, do you have a seconder? Councillor Cross, Councillor Ham.
We might go into committee about this, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's up to the council. So you're moving that we go into committee?
I'm moving that.
And Councillor Cross is seconding. Do we have everyone in favour? That's everyone in favour. Yeah, we're now in committee.
Thank you. And how the old Snowy Valley Council would be, and this report has a good list of things that I would really like an answer from the minister about what the new council will be like.
Councillor Cross.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Julie and Councillor Ham for bringing this up, because I think it's an extremely important decision that our communities will have to make. I agree, it's a very emotional issue, but that the decision needs to be based on facts, and we need to know from the minister. She can't just carte blanche say we're going to demerge or keep you as you are without giving us the facts behind it, without giving us any indication of what the financial implications will be, and what the emotional and human implications will be. And we need the communities are owed that information before they can make an informed decision.
I think it's really important that we have financial implications to the ratepayers, all ratepayers,
yes,
of what it's going to cost us if we are if we did demerge. You know,
and we need to know.
Somebody's going to have to pay, and
yes,
there's no free lunches anymore, is there?
And we also need to know that that demerger money, if that's what it comes to, that demerger money could be then spent on infrastructure for both communities. So, you know, there's so many different levels and implications for this whole question.
You'll notice on the top of page 15 that the independent commissioners yet to advise how they'll be implementing their process. However, they've had initial contact with the mayor. Bob Sent, who's the chair, rang me to introduce himself. So apart from introducing himself, there was nothing really. He didn't tell me much about the process or anything like that. I think they're deciding as they go, as it's a whole new process for them.
Did he give you a timeline?
No.
But they've got other states to learn from, because other states have gone through a demerger process. Queensland, Victoria, they've been through that, and we know from those stories the cost to the communities, to the governments is huge. Not to mention the pain that people have to go through. And we've already gone through drought, we've gone through fires, now we're going through kind of COVID-19. What else do we have to go through?
One of the things I think about is our employees.
Yes.
I look at our employees
Yes.
around here and they say, we've had enough of this. We just want to go keep on doing our job, want to go to work every day and
Yes.
not be harassed.
Start
So it's going to be a big problem for our employees.
And I'd like to ask the
Acting CEO.
Acting CEO.
How is staff morale with all of this going on?
It is having a big impact on staff, as Councillor Wright highlighted, and we're managing that the best what we can by keeping our staff very well informed on what's going on, and any information that we can get hold of and push out to staff, we're doing that. So it's all about sharing that information and trying to take out some of that unknown and the stress and the issues that arise out of that. And really that's the best we can do at the moment, I think.
And is it having an impact on being able to attract staff as well?
I think, I'm sure it does, in that it's difficult to attract staff anyway into a regional council. I'd expect it would be having an impact on recruitment as well.
Councillor
I'll just add to it. It's very difficult to answer this question because I don't think that they know what they're doing themselves.
That's what we're pushing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree, but I mean, I suppose it comes back to, my view on it is the people who were asking for this demerger, needed to be very clear and understand the ramifications of this process happening, because unscrambling this egg is going to be very expensive. And, the probably $10 million plus that it's going to cost to do it could have been spent on services and provisions for our communities. And, I can understand the state government is going to be hesitant to absorb that cost without it flowing onto someone, and it's likely to be us. I suppose it's just a matter of who ends up paying for it in the greater sense, but I don't see any winners out of this. I've always said all along, I think this council has been very productive. It's been probably, despite what people outside of the organisation say, it has been very productive, and it's been a great experience being on this council. And I think what we continue to do is provide really good governance and direction for our communities, and that hasn't changed. So the service levels have improved, and I think the infrastructure is improving. And the dedication of the staff and the councillors has been second to none. So, I'm still not convinced that this process is going to benefit anyone. But we'll see what happens. It's not our decision.
That's right.
So, would you like to go out of committee now?
Yes, happy to go out of committee.
Councillor Hand? Councillor Cross, all in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So Councillor Ham, would you like to close the debate?
Thank you for all your comments, and I would just like that request to be expedited to the Minister and to try and get some answers back as soon as possible.
All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Extraordinary meeting of Council. Mayoral minute. Someone second that? Thank you, Councillor Lada. Basically just asking that we have two extraordinary meetings. Put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Recent bushfire disaster, Commonwealth funding, council expenditure overview, works plan and equivalent. 6 recommendations there. Councillor Ham, Councillor Wright.
I suppose the bushfires have cost a lot of money, and no doubt they're going to cost a lot more into the future. The 1.25 million that has, Prime Minister Morrison has talked about has been given to the council. It was the CEO spoke a bit about it at the last meeting. However, if I'd be able to ask our CFO if she might be able to explain again where it's gone, and have we gone over that amount, and if we've gone over that amount, by how much, and what are we doing about that?
The table place adequately shows that. Do you want to
I just thought you might like to talk it through and
Okay.
explain.
Chief Financial Officer?
Through the Chair, Council has so far spent over $3.6 million on bushfire, combating the bushfire, supporting the agencies and recovery. The table shows in detail where it has gone. A large part has gone into the immediate response. That's nearly $600,000 of staffing costs where we had to staff. Our staff support the agencies, and this is non-claimable expenditure. We also have a lot of claimable expenditure. We have a Section 44 claim that's yet to go out and be refunded. We're sitting at nearly $2 million there. That is not part of this report. The other large expenditure was the fee waivers. Council I think at the January meeting decided to waive fees and also give a discount on the water usage for the first quarter of this calendar year. The fee waivers will be well over $800,000 once we finish. This is over the next 3 years, and the water discount that we have just applied to the water notices that have gone out is $431,000. So overall, we have well and truly spent $1.275 million. We will be lobbying to get the discrepancy from other funding sources, but at this stage there has been nothing forthcoming. And if we can't get any other funding, then it will fall back to the council to pay for it.
So, and you've talked about Section 44 there. Do you know how much? Like, it doesn't say how much money we've asked through there or anything like that?
The claim we are putting together is just over $2 million.
Right.
And as I said, this is separate to this report.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Ryan.
Just with the approval of the mover and the seconder of that motion, just wondering whether we could add another motion, a 7th point, stating that, noting that some of the economic stimulus measures will not be of benefit or realised due to COVID-19, could a review of these measures be undertaken and further stimulus offered to assist?
Stimulus
Offered to assist. In effect, I'm just saying there that a lot of those economic measures that have been taken up by us or offered by the state and federal governments have been related to things like events and festivals and getting community back together and those sorts of things that are now going to be heavily impacted by this COVID-19 situation. We need to look at other measures of stimulus to assist us, because obviously those are not going to help.
Not in the short.
Maybe after realised it could say in the short term.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's happening? It's thinking.
It's thinking. Been there.
And could I, so here we talked about, this is probably for the acting CEO, purchase and install of emergency accommodation in Batlow and the Batlow Cannery, but then further down, expenditure not yet committed, is additional Batlow and Tumbarumba. You're looking for that funding, or is this happening? Are we getting, because I know we've got the 6 units down in Batlow.
We have 6 units in Batlow delivered.
Yep.
And that was 486,000
Yep.
at a cost of 81,000 each. We've got plans for more to go in, but they're unfunded and they're not ordered.
Yeah, that's all I was wondering. So this is that 4.1 million is what we'd like.
That's what we'd like.
Yeah,
So I
okay,
had a meeting yesterday on site, Senator Molan, and we mentioned that, and I've given him a copy of the request.
And can I ask the question, Mr Mayor, does that amount include the overspend on the Batlow Cannery that we've now occurred as a result of the fire?
The documents I gave him at the time were just relating to the caravan park, but I did mention to him about the overspend on the caravan, on the cannery side as well. Clean-up costs.
Yes. I have to say that the clean-up operation...
Unfunded clean-up costs.
The clean-up operation is going extremely well, and they've done a great job down there. And it will be ready very soon, I believe. But yes, it's costing us a great deal more, something over 1.something million that we're going to have to find from somewhere.
Hopefully the government will come good. Anything further on that? So the mover and seconder happy with point 7? All good?
Yep.
Put the motion all in favour? That's unanimous. Financial report, February 2020. Councillor Ham. Councillor Benjamin.
If I could just ask the CFO just some questions about this, please.
Certainly, yes.
Thank you. The way it reads here is this at this temporary time it's looking better than expected. However, as if we're buffering back our $4 million expected loss. However, this isn't taking into account any of the previous loss we were talking about there. Is that right?
This is certainly a report, sorry, Chair, certainly a report at the end of February, and yes, a large number of those figures in the previous report are not included in this one yet, but we are on track for the revised quarterly budget review that we presented last month to achieve that, except for the additional expenditure that we have on the recovery from the bushfires, yes.
Okay, any further? All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Takes us to Statement of Investments, 9.3. Councillor Ham, Councillor Ryder.
Through you, Mr Mayor, if I could talk to the CFO again about the political, not the political, the financial climate we're in at the moment. And I'm just wondering what steps we have made with our investments.
Through the Chair, this is the report as the end of February. You will have all noticed that 2 of our investments went backwards during the month of February. They were the medium-term and long-term funds with the Treasury Corporation. In the meantime, the markets generally, like across the world, globally and also locally, have shown extreme volatility and have on occasions near crashed. We have taken the decision last week to dispose of those 2 Treasury Corporation investments and move them to cash to lower Council's risk in investment.
Okay, so that's your role as CFO, that you're able to, you have the right to do that without going through council?
This is a decision that, or this is a delegation to the CEO, and obviously I have discussed it with the CEO, and the decision has been made that way.
And just going on the markets, like we've basically been sitting around the 44 million in reserves quite some time. And you'd be expecting a 3 to 5% drop in that?
Through the chair, no, we're not expecting a drop in our cash holdings,
Right.
because most of our cash is actually invested in very low risk interest-bearing investment. The only higher risk investment was those 2 Treasury Corporation investments, and we made for the year a very small loss considering what was invested on the sale of those investments. But overall, no, it will not have an impact on the reserves.
That sounds very prudent. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing further? All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Lease finalisation. 10.1. Roth's Corner. Councillor Smith. Councillor Cross. Councillor Smith.
I understand these are a catch-up measure in the sense that these people have already been leasing the premises, and the leases have not been renewed in the last 6 months, and we're just now finalising that.
I believe that's correct.
Through you,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Thank you.
This will give the community of Tumbarumba
Continuity.
confidence in continuity. Excellent.
Thank you. Put the motion, all in favour? It's carried. Second one is another lease as well, 10.2, New South Wales Health Pathology, Roth's Corner. Councillor Ham, Councillor Smith.
Further on from that last lease, it's great to see this all signed off. And it's great going to Roth's Corner at the moment, having the stability of Di there, of Gail and Isabel. They're just doing a wonderful job, and there's just been a whole lot of doctors go through. All of them have been fabulous, and it's lovely to have Nadesh back there at the moment. But through the minute, could I ask Paul how we're going recruiting a doctor?
Through the chair, we're not exactly recruiting a doctor as much as seeking to get a doctor to take up the opportunity to lease the premises. We have been in discussion with the doctor, and an offer has been put on the table, and the doctor is considering that as we speak. We'll know over the next week or so.
It'll be interesting to see if the virus makes any impact on that decision.
Thank you. So, could we put that motion, all in favour? It's carried. Okay, unanimous. Bomboli Fire Shed. Councillor Lana, Councillor Cross. Councillor Lana.
It's a situation that had to be managed because the opportunity to locate this fire station in the originally proposed spot fell through because of a number of complications, and this was the best option.
Okay. Nothing further? Put the motion, all in favour? So, partial land road closure, sale William Street, Adelong. Acting CEO, there's a change, small change here, isn't there? In this one?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, there was an error in the report in the section under cost and benefits where it refers to the land will be rateable as rural class 5. It's actually that land will be zoned as RU5 Village.
Okay.
So if we can just ask the councillors to note that, please, in the recommendation.
So do you want that as, we have that as a fifth?
I think we could put it in as 2.4, maybe?
2.4? Yep.
Yep, and just land to be zoned
Land zoned
RU5 Village.
RU5 Village.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's actually three, not they're not four.
Right, so I need to move for that, don't I? So Councillor Cross and Councillor Lada. Anything further on that?
Excellent outcome.
Sure. Okay. Put the motion, all in favour? That's carried unanimously. Draft cemeteries policy for public exhibition. Councillor Lada, Councillor Wright. Put the motion, all in favour? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Libraries conference.
Yes, I'll do that.
Councillor Cross, Councillor Hand. Councillor Cross, you had a slight change there in the executive summary.
I did. It was November 2019, not 2018.
Okay, if we can advance that a year, that'd be good. There's two recommendations there. The motion, all in favour? Unanimous. 10.7, local environment plan. Okay. Gilmore Industrial Estate. Councillor Lada. Councillor Benjamin. Councillor Lada.
Yeah. I agree.
Anything further? All in favour? Carried. Unanimously. Takes us to let's do the late report. COVID-19 pandemic update. So we've got a few changes here. We suggest, as it's an evolving pandemic, unfortunately. So it's just a couple of changes there.
Which number was that one? It'll come after
It's L1,
9.3.
so it'll be actually be 9.4. You can call it 9.4 or L1.
Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Won't have you. So can you please pull up the Word document that's got the suggestions?
So those changes that we've got in there, where are those?
Just pull that up.
Just keep them up. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing the screen. Okay.
Okay. So we've got in two, after pandemic plan, currently out on external exhibition for staff feedback and finalisation. Internal exhibition, sorry. 3B is advises community groups. 3D is including those organised under Section 355 committee arrangement. E adds in including those of section 355 and advisory committees where no urgent decisions are required. And then finishes up after facilitated by video, phone or other alternative means. G is F is view council meetings online. G is advise the community of facilities that are closed to explain the reasons for the closure. And J is authorise the CEO to extend these arrangements if required. So it's not just till the end of May. And K, write to the Minister for Local Government to amend the Local Government Act to permit council to meet utilising technology as an alternative to in-person. And J, advocate for the state government for funding to mitigate any impacts on council's financial situation as a result of instigating community safety measures in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone clear on those on the screen? It's just evolving so fast. So, Councillor Swift, you're moving those?
Yes.
And
I'll second.
Councillor Hand?
In doing so, can I clarify that we are currently already acting in accordance with those recommendations, even though the period of consultation has not yet been completed?
Yes.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, Councillor Smith, that's right. We've been forced to act ahead of the council meeting and implement some of those recommendations.
And many of these things are mandated anyway.
Yes.
Councillor Martin?
I was wondering whether we should go into committee.
You moving that one?
If that's all right.
Councillor Ham, Councillor Lada moving committee. All in favour? It's unanimous. Councillor Lada.
Can I just ask, from a governance point of view, although it's an operational matter, can we have some assurance that measures outside the sort of square are being looked at? I notice that Commonwealth Bank and organisations like Westfield are running business continuity plans that allow for people in the same area to either work at home and split up teams, so you have A and B doing the same job. One week they come into work, that sort of provision, so that we...
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Lada, that's exactly what the business continuity plan is being pivoted around, is looking at alternative delivery models to make sure that we can continue service delivery but keep staff and customers safe. That is one option that we're being explored, and obviously remote working from home. I think at this stage nothing's out of the question, so it's just around what, as the situation escalates, what it is we can capably resource and implement.
I suppose in addition to that, through you, Mr Chair, very much identifying critical services like water treatment and supply, sewer, and then obviously garbage collection as well. So making sure, depending on what happens over the next few months, that we're able to continue with those critical services.
And through you, Mr Mayor, the acting CEO, I've heard some stories about toilet paper going missing, and then also that things may evolve that public facilities may be shut.
Yes, through the chair, toilet paper, sanitizer, disinfectant, those sort of things, very hard to get, even at a commercial level. So that is impeding on our ability to maintain those items in our public facilities and even in our offices. So as time goes on, that could impact on service delivery. Worst case, we're putting up signs at the moment warning users of those facilities that they may not always be stocked up with toilet paper and hand wash. Worst case, we might have to close some of those facilities down. Just out of safety, if we can't maintain them as being safe facilities.
So what makes it unsafe though? Is that just no toilet paper? Or?
And not being able to clean them effectively. We're not able to provide the staff to clean them or get access to the products we need to clean them. That could be another reason why we might have to close those facilities. It's all about making sure that they're safe for the user. If they're not safe for the user.
But you can't see that happening in the short term?
No, we'll do our best we can to avoid that, of course. Yeah.
Ask the question, has cleaning been stepped up in those facilities now? Are we cleaning them more frequently than before?
It's on a as needs basis, if anything else. So yeah, if we need to clean them more frequently, we will. Cleaning is something that we're looking at, as all workplaces are, in making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to mitigate the risk of infection, both in our own offices and in our community spaces.
I think that last point, the advocacy, is really, really critical. We've just come out of bushfire. 63% of our Snowy Valleys Council has been impacted by fire. We've come out of floods as well, and now we've been hit with this. And I really think that those points should be hammered home to the governments, both levels, state and federal, that we are in a dire situation and we need help now.
I think too, you know, like the supermarkets have got to start looking at some sort of responsibility with regard to who's accessing the supermarket. I mean, somebody coming in there from Canberra or somewhere else and buying toilet paper and 20 cans of this, you know, whether we need to demonstrate, I mean, I know it's going a bit far, but whether we have to demonstrate that you actually live in the town to purchase something from the shop, because there seems to be a number of factors at play here that are beyond our control, and we need to try and assist where possible. But, I mean, what happened to all the toilet paper and all the sanitary stuff and all the donations that were left over from the bushfires? I mean, there was container loads of the stuff, but where's all that gone?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, most of the donations had been distributed. From immediate response phase into immediate recovery phase.
Yeah. Most of it's been handed out to the people it was supposed to be handed out to.
Which is really good news.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's still happening, of course. It's still, there's none of that sort of stuff left there. Pretty well. Plenty of toothpaste if you want toothpaste.
I was delighted yesterday to see a newsletter come out from Council about COVID-19, or a press release. Could someone talk to me about the communications and what people are to expect from Council, particularly?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ham, we're ramping up both our internal and external communications around the virus, but have to be mindful that Council is in an external phase, apart from the work that we're doing with our own facilities, sports grounds, committees, etc., is still taking the lead from the combat agency. So we need to be careful we're not stepping over into health's territory in that regard, and let them lead the messaging around the virus itself. But internally, we've made a commitment to staff that will roll out a regular update, and even if that's just to say there's nothing new, just to try and allay fears. But it is, we were jokingly saying it's changes week to week. It's now down to almost hour to hour. So we're doing what we can.
I don't want to appear alarmist, but I mean, Councillor Pritchard would, I think, be saying at this meeting, if he was here, that, you know, there's never been a greater time for us to be leaders and presenting facts about the hospital staffing as well. You know, the Tumbarumba and Sherman and Butler hospitals having adequate doctor coverage. You know, because that's obviously been an ongoing issue for some time that we in my view, haven't satisfactorily resolved. Now, the main clinical issue with this COVID-19 is, for anyone that is seriously affected, is that you end up with pneumonia, and essentially the treatment for that is to go on a ventilator if you're that sick. So you need to have the skills to be able to intubate a patient and then put them onto a ventilator. Now, you know, I suppose in the worst case scenario is if we end up with a number of people who are badly affected that are vulnerable, and Walker can't cope with that because they've got limited intensive care beds, then the overflow may well be tumid. So, you know, we need to ensure that we've got that capability at our hospitals at Tumbarumba and Sherman and Butler to be able to meet that interim demand if those cases exist, because, you know, I'm not sure that there's going to be the resources to move people from smaller hospitals to larger hospitals if the virus ends up playing a significant.
I'm just wondering if we put that down as another point to advocate for that, because that's very good.
And I would have thought that, you know, like some of those doctors that we've got in Sherman now, like those doctors like Dr. Lyons and those those sort of doctors that are GPs that are integral in our community, they should be now, you know, perhaps going into the theatres at Wagga for a day's orientation on emergency airway skills if they haven't already got them. You know, that's something that the health department should be looking at as an interim while it's not taken effect. Get these doctors skilled up so that they can spend a couple of days in the theatres and come back and have the knowledge to be able to undertake that, because it's, you know, you know, at the end of the day, this seems to be only affecting the vulnerable predominantly, but you don't want to be the vulnerable person, do you? Because you're going to end up.
We know vulnerable people. We like them.
Councillor Lardner, does that suit you on the board?
Is it only the state government, or would you state government and the local health authorities?
Well, I think that's a fair point, Councillor Ham, because you know, at the end of the day, we've also got the military who have a very good network of doctors assigned to them in reservist roles. So I don't see this, you know, perhaps being any different in the months to come, that where we would send a deployment of 50 doctors and 50 nurses and 50 paramedics to Afghanistan to set up a hospital. Why can't we, you know, bring back the specialists and send them wherever they're needed? I mean, that's the sort of thing that, you know, might need looking at in the short term.
Well, we also need to know whether we are going to get a COVID-19 set-up clinic.
Testing.
Yeah. Is that going to be part of our region?
And I suppose too, you know, if it does get as serious as it could be, and I hope it doesn't, but I suppose those with skills that are not working as doctors but are obviously have the skills, maybe they need to come back into their field.
Well, we know that historically we are 4 weeks behind what happens in Sydney, in the big cities. So we've got time to do that planning and make sure that we are prepared. So
We hope we have.
We hope we are, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mover and second are happy with that? Okay, well, do we have a mover to go out of committee? Councillor Wright, Councillor Cross, all in favour? Unanimous. So there we have the recommendations amended and added to. All in
Let us
favour?
finalise the discussion about that to make sure that the public are aware that council offices, the premises are still open for the public to come and transact their business with council in the office as normal.
For the moment, yes.
And our thanks to the council staff.
just to finish off too.
No, Councillor Smith has finished off.
Oh,
Just closed. Sorry. All in favour? Carried. So that's the late report. Councillors, that finishes the ordinary section of the meeting.
Are we doing the minutes?
Minutes. Oh, we've got more minutes too to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've got a lot more to say.
I thought, oh, sorry, my apologies. Aboriginal Liaison Committee. 7.1. Councillor Lard, Councillor Wright. Rising. All in favour? Unanimous. Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Councillor Ham. Councillor Benjamin.
If I could just speak on this, I'm no longer on the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Thank you very much, Councillor Cross. However, I was just looking at the major projects program, which is brought up there, and probably more directed to the acting CEO, how well we seem to be going with our projects despite amazing odds. So congratulations. And one of the things that I think many people in this town are so excited about is the rail trail being open, virus-free, ready to go. And I've just had a correspondence from Justin Clancy, and he is able to come up on that the Friday the 3rd to be open. So hopefully that will be able to comply, and even if it's only 2 or 3 people, to actually formally open it.
Yeah, through the chair, it'd be great to recognise what a great project it's been and what a massive effort it's gone to getting that completed. I suppose, we're very much in the hands of state and how we respond to COVID.
Is that all it would take? Is one politician?
Well, it's a changing thing. Advice we're getting is that the politicians are going to be less likely to travel to events.
Yep.
In that, they've got to look after themselves as well, and that they're in critical roles. So I suppose it's just a matter of in the next couple of weeks establishing where we go. Yeah.
But congratulations, and the bridges, don't they look great?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to
Councillor
add,
Yes, that's okay.
we welcomed the new member to the committee. She came to our first meeting.
Yes.
Really very, very good.
That's great. Okay. All in favour? Unanimous. Traffic Committee? Councillor Wright? Councillor Larder?
I don't have anything much to say, but I attend these meetings and they're very well run now, and as you can see, there's a lot of discussion there.
Put them up. Yeah?
Just one item that's not there, perhaps it could be brought up, is the use of exhaust brakes and a review of those signs as to where they are, because I think that sign coming into Tumen especially is encroaching on the on some residential houses, and it might be just a community liaison thing with the trucking organisations and forestry, reminding those truck drivers not to use the exhaust brakes at night. And I think the same thing happens.
It's early hours in the morning as well.
Yeah. And that fits in somewhere in there, doesn't it? Of course. Yeah. Councillor Hand.
And point 3.4 is about speed zones, and they're on the Tumbarumba Road, Swampy Plains Road and the Elliott Way. And I was just going to ask the acting CEO about the Elliott Way and how are we going there and what's it looking like, and is there any way we can lobby to get it open sooner rather than later?
Through the chair, we've been advised by Parks that we could be looking, the road could be closed until May next year. And obviously it's got significant impact on different organisations and people. So there is a fair bit of discussion going on at the moment in trying to find out if we can try and assist in making that process occur a whole lot quicker.
But it's actually Parks.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. So the section of road that's got impacted by fires and then flood, it's in the park area. It's not council road.
Just in addition to that, when we had the Tumbarumba announcement about for the boat ramp, the CEO was chatting to the Deputy Premier about this issue and seeing if he could expedite it more quickly.
Yes.
So it has been already
The Deputy
highlighted.
Premier is aware. Yep.
Yes, he's very much aware.
Put the motions, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Outlet Development League, Councillor Smith. Councillor Benjamin. Councillor Smith.
A couple of points from this report, Mr Mayor. The sorry, just lost my place for a moment. The Batlow-Tumut Rail Trail has obviously had a lot of interest shown in the public and in various forums. Just wanted to make a comment that there has been no change in anything as far as council is concerned in terms of our policies, that these policies were established at previous council meetings and have not changed, but the perception of them have been changed, and certainly a lot of the people in the Batlow community and in the Batlow Development League would like to see that expedited, but just a reminder that we were advised by a government official some time ago, some months ago, that there was officially no funding available at this time for any further rail trails to be developed in New South Wales, and that it is all still pending on the pilot project, which is about to be opened, hopefully, here in Tumbarumba, to see how that all goes, and that there is nothing that any of us can do, including this council, to expedite that matter.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
I'd like to just add that, like everybody knows, I'm a proponent for the rail trails. I think they're a great thing. However, we did agree at a meeting a long time ago that we weren't doing anything until such time as the Tumbarumba Rosewood Rail Trail has proven its worth. And until then, I don't think we should be involved in any discussion.
Thank you. Anyone further? Councillor Lada.
Can I just add too, there was some discussion about the Duns Road recovery plan or something or other, but I'm not aware of that. And I'm not sure the council's aware of it, because I'm not aware of it. So just reiterate that isn't a plan. It's essentially, I think where there's been a bit of confusion and a mistake is that some of the items on our advocacy plan have been escalated because of deficiencies that have been noted as a result of the bushfire. So for instance, an example of this is the airport at Tumut. The operational considerations of the Rural Fire Service, especially at that airport, and the military were raised as concerns, and as part of our advocacy going forward, we're trying to establish a response to those issues about the aircraft taking off two-thirds loaded and inadequacies. And that's essentially what that plan is looking at. Evacuation centres is another one. Things that have been highlighted in the recovery as deficient. So that's essentially where that comes from.
What we do have is this document, which is the Snowy Valleys Council Bushfire Recovery Action Plan. I think that's what you're referring to. Thank you. Okay, so with all those minutes, we happy with that? Anything further? All in favour? Carried. That's unanimous. Moving on, we've got we've got the Tumberfest. We've got 3 separate.
If I could, through you, Mr. Mayor, if we could pass all those at once.
Yes, we can move them all together.
Yep.
So it's 11.5, 11.6 and 11.7 all together.
Yep.
Seconder, Councillor Wright.
Yep. And the reason I've moved those all together is because altogether it was just an amazing event. It was just fantastic. Over 6,000 adults through, so we don't know the exact number because under 12s could come in unticketed. Kate Sobrano and the Wolf Brothers were just outstanding acts. The markets were separate so that you didn't have to have a ticket to go to the markets, and they were put underneath the trees, and you just have to compliment the ground staff in Tumbarumba because that is just a beautiful area now down around the bike track and everything, just fantastic. So that was good, all good. The debrief was fantastic. There were hardly any complaints. We got a lot of support from people a long way away, having the buses come, but I must say that support from Wagga has been absolutely outstanding. You know, and it was outstanding when we evacuated, and it continues to be outstanding. All towns are helping, but they've been outstanding. I would like to compliment the committee because, and people do compliment the committee because it's such a happy committee. You know, everyone just gets on, does their own thing. There doesn't seem to be any tension there at all, and I think that's reflected in the whole Tumberfest function. There was one sad thing that I didn't understand is that council is sponsors of it, and with that we could have had wine and tasting. And so next year we need to be a little bit, only because there was quite a lot of spare places at the table, because we didn't understand that as sponsors we were supposed to be there. So I recommend next year that if not a councillor, you know, someone from council staff take those positions, because the food and wine were excellent. And finally, Tumberfest are now under the discussions of whether they remain as a Section 355 or whether they go their own way. So that's coming up the next meeting. But, and big thanks to Snowy Valley's Council for being a sponsor, but Snowy Valley's Council staff, outstanding.
I'd like to add to that, because, you know, the council staff, you know, cleaning up, keeping it clean and tidy, and, you know, the store holder there, they were just wonderful. All day they were going, both days. There was no rubbish anywhere, it was really tidy, they were terrific. And I think the council staff who set up the short-term caravan parking throughout the whole, you know, everywhere you could put a caravan, had set up a line marked. It was well done, and it was well organised. It was a credit to the staff. They did a terrific job.
And they really had to think on their feet.
They had to work all the way through it. Yeah, it was a big job. Yeah.
Sorry, just remember two things that to lobby for is an extra bridge to get across more towards the children's end, and how about toilets that work would be really exciting. So if there's something that we really want to lobby for Tumbarumba now, it's a new toilet block. Maybe when you walk over the bridge that you don't see the toilets, and you put them a bit more discreetly away, and a brand new block would be great.
So we can do it with toilet paper.
With toilet paper. We might go into
And look, I'd like to endorse all those comments. I think it's the best one I've been to, and certainly very, very crowded. A lot of people there. Couldn't do it today, so lucky they got it in, and wonderful to get it done. So thanks to everybody. Motion, all in favour? It's carried unanimously all through. Now I can move into confidential and close this meeting. The recommendation is the council move into confidential to consider the matters listed in the confidential section of the agenda in accordance with section 10.2 of the Local Government Act for the reasons: 12.1 is loan selection for the Tumbarumba Caravan Park, 12.2 is Batlow Cannery demolition project, confirmation of variation, 12.3 is the Victoria Bridge, and 12.4 is the supply of pavement for the Tumut CBD parking and amenity project. I'll move to go into confidential. Councillor Benjamin, Councillor Ham, all in favour? Thank you. Welcome back. I've asked the acting CEO to report on the confidential section of the council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Report 12.1, loan selection Tumbarumba Caravan Park. Council resolved that. Received the report on loan proposals for the Tumbarumba Caravan Park, fit for purpose cabin infrastructure for $500,000 over a 6-year term. 2, secure the loan for $500,000 over 6 years with the Commonwealth Bank. 3, approve the Mayor, Chief Executive Officer to affix the council seal to the loan documentation with the Commonwealth Bank. 12.2, Batlow Cannery demolition, confirmation of variation incurred due to bushfire. The council resolved, received this report on the Batlow Cannery demolition project, confirming the variation incurred to the project due to the impacts of the recent bushfires. Acknowledge the issuing of a contract variation to Bremer Group, Pty Ltd, for the amount of $881,590.46 ex-GST to undertake the additional works required to complete the demolition of the Batlow Cannery. Item 3, note the forecast budget deficit of $1,075,000 inclusive of contingencies for the Batlow Cannery demolition and development project. Seek government support for funding the additional works required to demolish the old cannery buildings and make the site safe following the impacts of the bushfires. (12.3) Request for tender 2019/12 Tintalja Bridge. Council resolved that. Received this report on the request for tender 2019/20 for the replacement of the large box culvert structures on Tintalja Road with a new single span bridge. Item 2, resolved in accordance with clause 178(1)(b) of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2005 to decline to accept any of the tenders for the Tintalja Bridge tender. Resolved in accordance with clause 178(4)(b) of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2005 not to invite fresh tenders, noting that it is considered that inviting fresh tenders would not enable the council to achieve its objective for this project. Item 4, advise the tenderers in writing that their tenderers were not accepted. And item 5, reconsider the project as part of the budget process for the 2020-21 financial year. And that takes us to the late confidential reports. L1, request for tender 2019/18 Alpine Way Slope Stabilisation Project 11977. The council resolved. Item 1, received this report on the outcomes of the tender 2019/18 for the remediation of slope 11977 located along Alpine Way, MR 677, from the Executive Director of Infrastructure. Item 2, endorse the decision of the Chief Executive Officer to accept the tender of Mulligan Geotechnical Pty Ltd for the remediation of slope 11977 located along the Alpine Way, MR 677, being for the lump sum amount of $577,850.79, including GST. Endorse the decision of the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with Mulligan Geotechnical Pty Ltd. Advise the unsuccessful tenderers in writing. Report L2, outstanding water account, Lot 2, DP 816017. Council resolved. Item 1, received this report on the outstanding non-residential water account identified as Snowgun Lodge, Lot 2, DP 816017 from the Executive Director of Infrastructure. Item 2, approve wavering of interest charges relating to the outstanding water account, noting that a part payment has been made in good faith. Item 3, approve reducing the non-residential sewer charges for quarters 2 and 3 in the 2018-19 financial year from $8,125.73 to $822.52, equating to a reduction of $7,303.21, noting that the additional water consumption was not likely discharged to the sewer system. Item 4, approve applying the annual rebate of $1,000 as per Council Policy TSC COR PO 0730 to the outstanding water account, noting that the property owner has not made an application for the rebate as required under the policy. Item 5, approve pursuing the amended outstanding water account amount totaling $5,679.65 for quarters 2 and 3 of the 2018-19 financial year. Item 6, receive a further report in May 2020 for the consideration of a new water and sewer charging policy. That takes us to the last late report. Yes, late report number 3, Batlow Cannery proposed lease. Council resolved, received this report on the proposal to lease part of the Batlow Cannery site. Note the outcomes of the sales market appraisal for the sale. Approve undertaking a rental market appraisal for the site. Item 4, delegate the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate a lease agreement for part of the Batlow Cannery site to a neighbouring business owner that has expressed interest in the site within the following parameters. Southern end of the site with an approximate area of 1 hectare, 5-year term with an option to renew for a further 5 years, rental income to be within 10% of market rental appraisal, noting that a rental appraisal is yet to be undertaken. Item 4D, any site improvements such as fencing, access roads to be at the cost of the tenant, subject to the approval of council officers. 4E, parties to meet own legal costs associated with developing and agreeing to a lease agreement. And item 5, delegate to the Mayor and Chief Executive Officer to affix the council seal and execute all documents relevant to the lease of the land. And I think that's it. That's Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, and that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much.